Kunja Vihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Girivaradhari. Jaya Yashodanandana, Jaya Brija Janaranjana. Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari, Jaya Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Vihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha, Shama Sundar Radhe. Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha, Shama Sundar Radhe. Jaya Gaurani Tai, Jaya Gaurani Tai, Jaya Gaurani Tai, Jaya Gaurani Tai. Jai Vishnupad Mahamsa Acharyas. For being champions, true champions, for coming out in this weather. I'm going to be speaking about the December book marathon. How many of you know that December is the month of book marathon? Half and half, I guess. Right? Okay. Which is good. So this is a beautiful post. On the left hand you see there it says the Prabhupada Marathon and it's called Be a Giver. And on the right side is the IBC logo for this month and for this year and for every year going forward, which is 30 books in 30 days, right? So I'm going to explain what the book marathon is all about, the history of our book distribution, which is actually here. This is what it is. So the presentation is split up. Why do we have a marathon? What did it mean to Srila Prabhupada? And how can IBC, ISKCON, Bergen County contribute? And lastly, what is in it for me, right? For each of us, for each and every one of us. What does it mean to me? What do I get out of it, basically? So the first question is, why December? We have 12 months. We just finished Kartik. We just finished Janmashtami. We just finished a whole horde of festivals, and we've been fasting and we've been doing excesses of this and excessive of that and whatever. So the question is, did we really need this in December? I mean, could we not just enjoy the holidays and relax and do our own stuff and then start afresh in January and start going full blown into the next year? But there are many reasons, and then you'll realize that December made the most sense. The first thing is, think about what happens in December. There are lights, and everyone is feeling warm and cozy, and then there's a fire burning. So December basically kind of tends to relax everyone. We think it relaxes some people, but some people it doesn't, because colleagues at my workplace get so stressed out in December because they have perverted the meaning of what the holidays mean. It's not about the holidays anymore. It's more about what gifts am I going to buy, what am I going to receive. But in general, December is basically, a lot of people take vacation, a lot of companies are closed. I know in Texas, where my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law both work, they just have the entire week off for no reason. A lot of us don't have that in the Northeast, but they just have the entire 10 days off, which is fantastic. So it kind of, it de-stresses you. And then, of course, there's the warmth and the fire, and everybody's in a great mood, and everybody's partying and stuff like that. The other reason we have it in December is because almost 2 billion people in over 160 countries celebrate the holidays, celebrate Christmas per se, right? Now, 9 out of 10 people in USA celebrate the holidays. Whether they celebrate it as a part of Christmas or not, it's a sense of holiday for them. Now, a lot of us who are in the corporate world, even in schools and stuff like that, whether we are Christians, we celebrate Christmas or not, we're always going for holiday parties, holiday dinners, holiday this, holiday that, right? There's always something or the other going on. So 9 out of 10 people, they're the one person out of the 10 people who doesn't celebrate is basically considered, maybe a snob or someone who's just too caught up in their own problems. But all of us do it. Not because Christmas in a certain way has lost its religiosity in this country. It's become more of a celebration of, being together and doing good stuff. So, like I said, it's Christmas. And according to Trump, he's brought the word back. But I mean, it's a holiday for everybody. So is it a religion or is it a gift-agen? Now, depending on where you work, where I've been working for the last 15 years, the holidays actually bring stress to my colleagues, right? And the only reason it does that, because it's all about the gifts. It's not for themselves. It's like, oh, I've got my grandchildren, I have a budget of $300 for her. Oh, she told me she likes this. Now, this kid, she has to drag that child, firstly. It's all about, I want my presents. That's all that it's come down to, right? There's this little child taking the gift and slamming it. So, December, instead of being, it's actually a time to relax and to enjoy and to be with friends, but we've converted into a stressful time for us by making it into more about giving gifts and more importantly is not that I have to buy the gift, more importantly is, are they going to like it, or are they going to return it, and all that stuff. But ISKCON, like we know in chapter 15, everything that's in the spiritual world is perverted here in the material world. So that's why in the real world, in the material world that we live in the USA, it's all about taking. Oh, I'm going to go to Santa Claus and I'm going to give him a list of these are the 15 things I'm going to make a list of. And even if I get 5 out of them, I'm going to have to make sure that he gives me the top 5, right? It's all about taking. I want this. I want this. Oh, here's my list. Oh, give me this. Oh, give me that. But in the spiritual world, in reality, what it is that it's all about giving. Right? Now it's not that the people in America don't believe in giving, they do believe in giving. I'm just giving you a general picture of what it is like. There are a lot of people during Christmas who only donate, who go to shelters and who make food, and there is a lot of giving. But in ISKCON, Christmas is all about being a giver, right? And that is why December works out so perfectly for us, because this is the perfect time for us to be giving. And what's the best thing that we can give? Love of Godhead, of course, but the one way to do that, you just can't go to your colleague and say, hey, listen, this Christmas I'm going to give you love of Godhead, right? You'll say, yeah, great, give me love of Godhead. But there's a very nice way that we can do it, and we can do that by giving him Srila Prabhupada's book, because by doing that, we've planted a seed out there, right? So this is all about being a giver. December is the month of being giver. And when Ram Tulsi Prabhu and I, we were going back and forth on the poster, turned out to be really nice, that in 30 days, we are hoping that all of you accept a challenge of distributing 30 books in 30 days. Imagine if all of us did that. And I wish there was a larger congregation, because we really could have had a count of 30 books in 30 days. Imagine what that would do to ISKCON Bergen County in our first year of being an outreach center, right? So we're going to this 30 books, 30 days. It's going to be repeated in every slide, so that when we go home tonight, and thankfully don't slip on the ice, we go back and we say 30 books, 30 days, 30 books, 30 days, and we take that as a challenge and we do that. And I'm going to show you ways how to do that. So let's go back a little bit. Everyone talks about book distribution, right? Everyone is like book distribution, this book. But for a lot of the people who don't know what marathon is all about, why are books so important to ISKCON? Why is it that there's always a book table. Anywhere you go, there's a book table. Now, if the center was actually belonged to us, there would be a book table at all times. It would be like an open table out there, or there would be a bookshelf, and we would have a cash box over there that said, feel free to take a book, and if you want to donate, donate. Because book distribution is our family business. Book distribution is our bloodline. That's what ISKCON is all about, right? Today we are here because of Prabhupada's books. Of course, there may have been someone who gave us prasadam, someone who brought us in, someone who brought us kirtan and all that. But if the backbone didn't exist, and the backbone is the Vedic knowledge behind it. If we didn't know what we were here for, we would just say, oh, acha, okay, today's a Sunday, today I'm going for prasadam, this and that. But books are the backbone of our whole movement. And that's why it's so important to distribute books, right? Now let's look at this, right? Books to Prabhupada. I want to read the mission. ISKCON was founded in July 1966, right? And when Prabhupada founded ISKCON, the first thing he did was he wrote down the mission, 7 points, right? I'd like the Matajis to read the first 3 points and the Prabhujis to read 4, 5, and 6. Can you start? Read the first mission.
To systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large, and to educate all peoples in the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life and to achieve real uniting peace in the world.
To propagate a consciousness of Krishna as it is revealed in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam.
To bring the members of the society together with each other and nearer to Krishna, the prime entity, and thus to develop the idea within the members and humanity at large that each soul is part and parcel of the quality of Godhead, Krishna.
Thank you, Matajis. Who would like to Prabhuji? Can you read 4, please?
To reach and encourage the Sankirtan movement of congregational chanting. I have difficulty to read that.
I can continue. Okay. Congregational chanting of the holy name of God as revealed in the teachings of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
5.
To erect for the members and for society at large a holy place of transcendental pastimes dedicated to the personality of Krishna.
Raj.
6 to bring the members closer together for the purpose of teaching a simpler and more natural way of life.
Great, right? These are the first 6 mission. And guess how he wants to do it all? He wants to do all the above 6 with number 7. With a view towards achieving the aforementioned purposes to publish and distribute periodicals, magazines, books and other writings. So you see that? It's right there in the mission of ISKCON, which he created for us in 1966. He's going to do all the above. He's going to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge, right? So we are preaching. There are sannyasis traveling all over the places. We have bhakti vrikshas, and it's a small way of preaching. We go to yoga schools and we preach to propagate a consciousness of Krishna as it is revealed. So basically when we preach, we talk only about Krishna. That, we're all parts and parcel of Krishna. We talk about the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam to bring the members of the society together. So beautifully, very lucidly explained in the first 6 points. And he's going to eventually bring it all together with number 7. He's going to do all this by publishing and distributing periodicals, magazines, books and other writings. So you see how important distribution of books is, right? So it's right there in the mission. So this is what he says. Now I'm going to speak a little bit about the history of book distribution. So book distribution didn't exactly start with Srila Prabhupada. It's not that when he came with boxes of Srimad Bhagavatam on the Jaladuta and he said, okay, now I've printed these and I'm going to distribute it. And when I start ISKCON, I'm going to start distributing books. No. Book distribution has been a part of the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition forever. Right? Like for instance, 500 years ago when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was initiated as a sannyasi, his Guru Maharaj told him, I don't want you writing any books. I only want you to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That's all. And what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu do? Now, for some of you who may have read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you will know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was actually an erudite scholar. He used to have debates with Pandits and he would defeat all of those Pandits. But despite that, his Guru Maharaj told him, I don't want you writing any books. I don't want you preaching. All I want you to do is to chant the the Mahamantra, right? And he set an example for us. That's all he did. He only wrote the Shikshashtakam, and all he did was chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which is an example for us to follow and what our Guru Maharaj tells us, right? So just keep that in the back of your mind. And then what happens is, he has his 6 disciples, and what does he tell them? He only wants them to translate and write books. That's all he wants them to do. And look at his 6 disciples, right? These were his most competent disciples, and all he wanted to ask them to do was to write books, elaborating. Now, here, of the 6 Goswamis, all of them highly intelligent, all of them from extremely rich families, all of them with fantastic careers, houses, and so-called material prosperity, all of them, all 6 of them gave it all up to come and just follow Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and not only follow him, but listen to his exact instruction that he gave them, which was to write and to translate and to publish books, right? So we have Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. They were very, very high ministers in the Darbar of the Muslim ruler at that time. They had even converted their names. They were from Brahmin families. They had converted their names to Muslim members. And of course, when the moment they started following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there are some very interesting stories which we won't get into right now. Then their nephew, Jiva Goswami, he is considered by Sanskrit scholars to be the greatest philosopher of all times. Jiva Goswami has written such beautiful books that he is actually considered a very high scholar in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Then we have Gopal Bhatta, who was from an aristocratic South Indian family. Raghunath Dasa's father and uncle, they were the wealthiest landowners. And then we have Raghunath Bhatta, who studied under Rupa, and he established the famous Govindaji temple. Just look at them. Look at how they are dressed over here. If you looked at this picture without any background that I just gave you right now, would you even believe that they were from such wealthy households? Their family were the wealthiest landowners, or the fact that they were really high ministers in the kingdom at that time? You wouldn't. Because they started following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they totally took his instructions to heart, and all they started doing was working on literature, Vedic literature, right? So this goes back 500 years, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then we come to Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. I'm sorry, I didn't put the name over here. So, this was in the 1500s when we had the Goswamis, and by 1800s, of course, what does time do? Time starts decaying everything, right? So by the 1800s, there was unscrupulous translations of all the Vedic literature, and then of course we have on September 2nd, 1838, Bhakti Vinod Thakur appeared in this world. Now, and this is specifically for me, specifically, because I forever have, I have my job, I have my children, I have this and I that. And then when you read about Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he was a magistrate in the High Court. He had 10 children. 10 children. And beside that, he was an erudite scholar. He would write volumes and volumes of books. And not only did he just write the books, but he was one of the first proponents who had already started shipping those books across the 7 oceans or across 1 ocean or whatever. The books were already here in America, thanks to Bhakti Vinod Thakur, who was translating them in English and he was sending them. All right? So here it is. He started sending books to university libraries in foreign countries, planting the seeds for a worldwide movement of Krishna consciousness. Here is Bhakti Vinod Thakur. He's a magistrate writing all these books, and here's his family, 10 children. Okay? So he was the next proponent of book distribution. Then comes Bhakti Vinod, I'm sorry, I don't have his name. Anyway, this is Bimala Prasad, but this is Bhakti Vinod Saraswati Thakur. So Bhakti Siddhanta, sorry, this is not, okay, forget the first line, it's not Bhakti Vinod, okay, so Bhakti Vinod Thakur prayed for a son, right?
Would it be okay for me to adjust the screen so that people can see?
Yeah, you can, I'm so sorry, the pictures are so important here.
No, we cannot read the words and the lines also.
Offering.
No, but could I just...
Yeah, bring it closer. Is that better?
Yeah, that's...
Is that better too? Okay. So, Bhakti Vinod Thakur prayed and prayed for a son so that someone could carry on his legacy, right? Now, we've heard of so many stories of people wanting a son. Oh, mere khandan ka naam badana hai. Oh, meri jaidad ko sambhalna hai and all that. But Bhakti Vinod Thakur didn't want a son for any of that. He had 10 children, out of which I think 6 or 8 were boys. He wanted a child who could carry on the legacy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's what it was. And he actually prayed, and his 4th child, who was a son, was Bimala Prasad, right? And there were a couple of very auspicious incidents that happened when Bimala Prasad was 6 months old. They took him to the Jagannath Puri temple and a flower garland fell on him, and wonderful pastimes of that sort. But this is Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was Bhakti Vinod Thakur's son, and he was our Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master. So he was right there. Now look at him, right? He was called a lion guru. He was called a lion guru because he was absolutely not afraid of saying the truth, saying what it was, saying the truth, of course, but also saying it the way it was. Absolutely called the lion guru. Okay, but more than that, he was a lifelong celibate. So he never got married. He remained a brahmachari. He was extremely intelligent, and he was offered a chair position at the University of Calcutta, which of course he refused because he wanted to focus only on taking on his father's legacy and moving forward with the instructions that his father had given him. Okay, so one time a very important and rich gentleman came to him and I said, "Oh, listen, I really like your Gaudiya Math." Now Saraswati Thakur had actually opened 64 Gaudiya Maths, and then one rich person came to him and told him, "Your Gaudiya Math is fantastic. I think you should start opening temples in every important cities of the world because it has such a nice philosophy." And of course, our lion guru says, "My real business is to establish temples in everyone's hearts. I'm not interested in opening fantastic temples in all the cities. I'm interested in opening temples in everybody's hearts." Okay. Now, I particularly put this picture over here is because he was, it's very hard to read his books without having a dictionary by the side of it. His English is so highly advanced. It's very hard. So this is one thing about that. And the second thing is he was such a lion guru. He didn't care about what people had to say because he was so pure in his service to the Lord. He didn't care if he was traveling in a Mercedes. He would say, I'm doing it for the sake of the Lord. If I have to travel, and in fact, he was the one who opened up, who started allowing people to travel, because before that they were like, oh, sannyasis shouldn't travel, and they only had to travel by foot. They couldn't, take the airplane and stuff like that. But Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he didn't care about all that. He said this is to propagate Krishna consciousness, and everything that is made because of Krishna's energy, and I'm going to make sure that I use it to propagate Krishna consciousness. So he was the first one who started this. And there are some very nice pictures of him, associating with the British at that time, having great discussions and traveling in these fancy cars. But his purity was what created the 64 mutts, and it actually gave birth to Srila Prabhupada, right? Okay, so he was also a big proponent of book distribution. And then, of course, we have our very own Srila Prabhupada. Now, in 1922, Srila Prabhupada met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. He didn't want to go meet him at all. By then, his father was a pretty devout person. So they would have many sannyasis and other monks come into their house. And Srila Prabhupada, when he was growing up, he saw some of these sannyasis smoking ganja, or someone getting dressed to go to work, wearing a sannyasi outfit and changing it. So he was kind of not very keen on meeting another sannyasi, because he was like, these people have made it a business and stuff. But his friend insisted. He had a friend called Narayan, and he said, no, just come and meet him and this and that or whatever. So they climbed up 2 stories and they bowed down, because the minute they saw Saraswati Thakur, they saw all the tilak marks on his body, on his forehead and on his arms and everything, and they went to pay obeisances to him. When they paid obeisances, and before they could even fully get up, the first thing that he said was, you are educated young men, why don't you preach Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message throughout the world? This was his first message to Srila Prabhupada at his first meeting, before he had even gotten up from the floor after he paid his obeisances. That was the impact that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur had on our Srila Prabhupada. Okay? They didn't meet many times. He didn't meet his Guru Maharaj many times. He met him in 1922. Then I think he met him in 1932 when he went for a Vrindavan Parikrama. Then in 1935, he again went to Vrindavan to meet his Guru Maharaj. And at that time, he realized that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was a little disturbed in his mind. Because by then, the Gaudiya Mutt was doing very well, and they were building these glorious temples all over the place. And they had recently built a beautiful marble temple in Calcutta. And guess what had happened after they had built the temple? The people, the pujaris, the devotees, the congregation member, everyone who was involved was only fighting about which room am I going to occupy, what should be done in this room, how should we utilize this, I want this room because I'm senior, you want this room because you're senior. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was hearing all this, and he was getting disturbed with all this, right? And this is the statement that he makes. I'm going to read it verbatim, okay? It's from the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, these sentences here. But since we have been given this marble palace in Bagh Bazaar, there is friction between our men. Who will occupy this room? Who will occupy that room? Who will be the proprietor of this room? Everyone is planning in different ways. It would be better to take the marble from the walls and secure money. If I could do this and print books, that would be better. Can you imagine that? The Gaudiya Mutt is doing so well, right? 64 temples have been built, and this is what happens. The most glorious one that was built in Calcutta, built out of marble, is creating all the problems. Okay? Now again, don't mistake me. It's not that we should not have temples. We all need a place to congregate, and obviously we want to build a nice temple for Krishna. But our priority comes from distributing books, not comes from building temples, and everything else falls apart. Right? So we have to be very careful with that, because we should not allow history to repeat itself. It's right there. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta then said directly to Abhay, okay, so this he's thinking in his mind, and then he looks at him directly, and this was the last time that Srila Prabhupada meets his Guru Maharaj, and he says, Amar Ichha Chila Kichu Bai Karana. So he says, I had a desire to print some books. If you ever get money, print books. And standing by Radha Kunda and beholding his spiritual master, Abhay felt the words deeply enter his own life. If you ever get money, print books. This seals it for us, basically. Right? It's just the way it is. And then what does he do? Then, Srila Prabhupada goes through everything and, he tries to set up his business, and then he's got his breakup with his family. And eventually, all that he's trying to do while running his pharmaceutical business, he's trying to write books. And here's what he says. He says, the Goswamis used to sleep only 2 hours. I also write at night book, and I also sleep, not more than 3 hours. But I take sometimes little sleep more. Not like I don't imitate the Goswamis, that's not possible. So just imagine Srila Prabhupada, he's sleeping for about 3 hours in the night, and then during the daytime he tries to rest for an hour or so. And even that he's complaining about. He's saying that is too much sleep for him. He's saying because the Goswamis used to only sleep 2 hours to write all the books, but I'm not able to do that. But again, he tells us, I don't want to imitate the Goswamis. I only want to follow in their footsteps. This is another very important principle for all of us in ISKCON. We should never imitate anybody for that matter. But we should only follow in the steps of our spiritual masters. Follow in the steps of our advanced devotees. Okay? That's another very important thing. And there Srila Prabhupada gives us an example. And here, look at this beautiful, beautiful stuff that he's got, right? He's writing books, and then he goes to Mathura to stay there for a little while to do back to Godhead. They're printing their own books. And of course, there are issues because now he's so highly educated. And Srila Prabhupada spoke great English. So they all wanted him as an editor. They all wanted him to write articles and translate articles. But when he had ideas, they suddenly thought, oh, he's going to be more popular than us. He's going to get more ambitious. So then they moved him out. He was homeless in Delhi. Going from place to place looking for food. But despite all that, through all that, the one thing that he did was write and print books. Look at this one. Look at this little machine here. The press in New Delhi that printed the first volume of Srila Prabhupada's English language Srimad Bhagavatam in 1962. He would walk there to the printing press. He wouldn't have eaten anything, and he wouldn't ask for any food. But the guy who ran the printing press could just see how weak Srila Prabhupada was. So it's not that he would give him food. He would say, oh, you know what? I think you would like this. So without being too insulting to Srila Prabhupada, he would say, oh, you know what? My wife made this. It's very tasty. Why don't you have some? Because he knew fully well that Srila Prabhupada had nothing to eat. He didn't have the money to eat anything. He was walking barefoot to the printing press to get his literature printed. That's how touching it is. When you read this in the Prabhupada Leelamrita, you will cry. It is so, so, so touching. It really is. And then this one, now by October of 66, he was already here in America, right? Again, he was pursuing the same thing. But here, they had a different kind of a machine. He relaunched Back to Godhead, and Srila Prabhupada gave the job of writing and publishing Back to Godhead to his first American disciples. And look at this. The early issues were printed on a mimeograph machine Prabhupada bought second hand from a country club in Queens. I mean, we've got Macintoshes, we've got things that, he sent something from there to there, and all I had to do was go and pick up. We live in such a fantastic world of technology, and this wasn't even 50 years ago that they had nothing of this sort. And yet, literature was being printed, beautiful stuff was happening all the time. So there should be no excuse for us to not continue with that, right? So this is the legacy. This is our legacy of how these books came into existence and how they have been in existence for 500 years and beyond that, of course. But 500 years, we have data to validate that these books were in existence and how book distribution was a part of the ISKCON legacy. Okay? Again, he wrote the same thing. Here are some more pictures. Pictures speak such 1,000 words. Here's Prabhupada as a young man, just only focusing on his gurus. And here, look at him. He had not only his disciples, but he had his grand disciples come and bother him, play with him, eat cookies from him, but yet he was here focused. And then now he got the dictaphone over here, and instead of writing, he started dictating into the dictaphone, which his disciples would then translate and write. Right? Nothing stopped him. That's what the whole idea is. And here, this is so classic. I have instructed everything in my books. Right? Prabhupada says, everything that I have to leave for you folks, everything is in my books. Anything you want, you can find it over there. He eventually wrote and published over 80 books. These have been translated in over 60 languages. And in 2000, the last count I got that was that we were at 500 million, but this was 5 years ago. And I'm sure we're over 1 billion books that have been printed and distributed by now. Over 1 billion books, right? And the beauty was, every time a book would get printed and the disciples would run with the book to Srila Prabhupada, he would open it so excitedly and he would be like, oh my goodness, he would read the pages. Then a disciple asked him, Prabhupada, but you wrote these words, right? And he would say, no, I didn't write these. These are Krishna's words. He would, like an excited child, he would open the book to read the words. That is the power of these books. And this picture so nicely illustrates it, that here he's thinking of Krishna, and that's how Krishna is just putting all those words out there in the books for him. Okay, here are some pictures of the ISKCON press. This was in the beginning. Here's an ISKCON press. And this is the BBT right now. This is BBT North America. This is what it looks like. And this is the huge warehouse that they have right now. Anytime we order books, it takes them a few weeks to get it out to us. But they do a fantastic job of shipping those books out to us. We have a new shipment that's coming in sometime this week. And the shipment is coming specifically for the December marathon. So here what he says, he says, book distribution is also chanting. These books I have recorded and chanted, and they are transcribed. It is spoken kirtanas. So book distribution is also chanting. These are not ordinary books. It is recorded chanting. Anyone who reads, he is hearing. He says book distribution must not be neglected. There are many, many posters like this on the website. Alright? So, I spoke about why there's a marathon, what it meant to Srila Prabhupada, right? Now I want to move on to, do I have 5 minutes? 5 minutes? Okay. 10 minutes? Okay. Okay. So, now I'm going to talk about how can ISKCON Bergen County contribute? Now that we have a history of what the books mean to us, the fact that we have a legacy, how book distribution is the backbone of ISKCON, what can we do, all of us sitting over here and all of us who we are going to go home and tell all our friends and family that how important book distribution is for us, right? Let's look at this. Bergen County has a population of 1 million people, 934 right now, okay, 934,000. The growth rate is estimated anywhere from 3.5 to 4.9. It's because everybody who lives in New York eventually comes to Bergen County. They all do, because they all want to get out of it. Their kids start growing. They all want to come. Some of them move. But Bergen County is so perfectly placed. The transportation is so fantastic. Everybody goes to work in New York. So the population, even if population erodes from Bergen County, there will always be people coming into Bergen County, right? And look at the population density. There are 4,000 people per square mile. All right, it's the most densely populated county in all of New Jersey. It is so densely populated. This is, what else could we ask for? We have our center in the most perfect place, right? 1 million people, out of which how many come over here? Barely anybody. A few of them go maybe to Tobacco, a few of them go to Brooklyn, a few of them go to the Bhakti Center. Out of 1 billion people, even if 100,000 go to other places, which of course is not true, there's 900,000 people here for us to reach out to, right? And secondly, let's think about why we created ISKCON Bergen County, right? Whatever people may say, whatever stories may float around, the main reason we created ISKCON Bergen County was outreach. Was absolutely outreach. This center is started off as an outreach. Maybe it'll become a temple tomorrow. Maybe it'll be a place for us all to commune, which will be great if it does. But all that happens later on. All we need to focus on is that ISKCON Bergen County was created to reach out to the 1 million people out here. And I'm only talking about Bergen County. What happens to us is that we have access to Essex County, we have access to Hudson County. What is Hudson County? We've got Hoboken. We go to Hoboken Street Fair all the time. The people love us out there. We go to Newark, we go to Jersey City. That's all basically falls under our area, right? Now, when we talk about areas, we say, oh, let's not go there, because we don't want to go to Edison, because we have a fantastic team out there from CNG who goes to the Edison stores. We have so many people out here. Let's just focus on this area. We don't need to go to Morristown. We don't need to, right? So this was created as an outreach center. All the documents that were put together, Ramchandra Prabhu and Ramana Krishna Prabhu and Ram Tulsi Prabhu, we collected all these documents and we sent it to them, and we said, this is the ideal of why we are creating ISKCON Bergen County. And then, of course, it was blessed, right? When we put this proposition to them, it was blessed by the GBC, it was blessed by His Holiness Devamrita Maharaj, and so many other Maharajas have come here to give lectures. They've come here because they validate us. They know that we have a full right to exist over here, and they know the reason that we are existing over here. Not because of, whatever material it is. This is an outreach center, and we have a huge job ahead of us. 1 million in Bergen County and over 1 million people in the surrounding areas, in Essex County and Hudson County. Just the 3 cities, Secaucus, Hoboken, Jersey City, Newark. Just focus on those big cities. It's fantastic for us, right? Now, from the time we just started here February, it's less than a year. We've already had 2 interfaith dialogues. We've already had over 8 street fairs and book distribution events. These people have gone to the parks. They just sit on the parks. Shali Mataji, Dhananjay Krishna Prabhu, they just go outside Sabzi Bazaar. They're just standing out there distributing flyers. Every Sunday they did that in the first few, every Saturday, every Sunday they did that in the first few months that we started. So there's been a tremendous amount of outreach already with IBC. We've distributed over 100 japa malas. I'm just counting this out. And then there have been over 40 new emails that, people, when they come to our events, they say, yes, I'd like more information. Send me more information. They give us that information. All that goes to our database. It all gets collected. That number is growing at a steady rate. Every time the Sunday lecture, the Sunday program goes out, an event goes out, there are new people who are getting inundated with this email because they signed up for it. We didn't take their emails and random. They signed up for it. They want to know more about what is happening in this spiritual world, in this bhakti yoga world. So we are in a very, very beautiful spot right now. We have territory which has been untouched. We have people, because this is such an ethnically diverse population out here. Everybody who comes, all kinds of people from all kinds of countries, because they, basically come in from New York or whatever the case is. We are living in an age where people are ready for a spiritual awakening. Be it in the form of just vegetarianism, be it in the form of climate change, or be it in the form of yoga. But they're ready for it, right? So we have a very ripe, fertile land in front of us. So IBC has a very big responsibility. Now, the question is, we have the responsibility, but how? What's the action behind it? Right? As you can tell, I'm from the corporate world. My presentation is created like that. So yes, we have this responsibility, but what is our action plan? And this is a list of action plans, okay? I'm going to start with a few, and we can talk about all this. My first thing to you folks, and I am so sorry, I was going to wrap up those books and bring them to show you how beautiful they look. And they're wrapped up in cloth. Just with my health, I've not been able to do that, but I'm going to create those and make pictures, and then we'll send you all a flyer. These books are the best things you can give as gifts, right? Starting with, let's look at every person who has a child over here. If you have a child that goes to school, all the teachers should be getting a book. They all don't even hesitate about giving them a book. Because in all the years that my kids have grown up in school, every year I have gotten thank you cards from them saying, what an interesting gift. Thank you for thinking of me when you gave me this book. I didn't realize that there was so much in the Vedic knowledges. Those are the kind of thank you cards you get back from teachers. When in the past, before we came into Krishna consciousness, all I was doing was searching for chocolates and this and that. And people would say, thank you, Mrs. Beg. That's all they would say. Giving the books actually, and teachers, think about teachers. What do? They read books. They're educators. They have a very open mind about reading all these things. And we have cards. I also printed cards, which of course I'm going to send you pictures of. All you have to say that this is not a religious book. It's a philosophical book. It's a bhakti yoga book. And that is the truth. That is the truth about the Bhagavad Gita. When you go to book fairs and street events and people say, oh, I don't want the Bhagavad Gita. I have a Bible. And you're like, oh no, this is not a religious book at all. It's a philosophical book. And then you start showing them pictures and they actually go away with the book. So giving books as a gift is the first thing. There should be no reason that we should not be using that avenue. Everyone should be giving gifts. Teachers, all your colleagues, every one of your colleagues. We have so many books. One year you give them vegetarian cooking, one year you give them Krishna book, one day you can keep giving them books. They enjoy those books too. They're like, oh, you know what, maybe she's weird, or she is what she is. But they know that they're expecting a book, and they know they're not going to throw it away. They just want to stack it and keep it. And they're like, hey, thank you for that book. You know, the thing is, sometimes you will be afraid, oh, if I give them a religious book, I have to see this person's face tomorrow and work with them for 8 hours. Don't be afraid. Believe you me, it changes relationships, right? Okay, so we can find a lot of people to give us gifts. One other thing I found was that I used to go to a dentist who was a really, really nice guy. One year I went to him and I said, hey, listen, you have a lot of people as a dentist, as a doctor, you have people to give books, right? Why don't you take this entire carton of books and distribute the books? And believe you me, he takes 2 containers of Bhagavad Gita and he distributes it. Imagine that, it's a chain link. So think of doing that. If you have a great relationship either with your dentist, your doctor, whoever, one person, encourage them. Even small business owners, if you like a beauty parlor, you go to a beauty parlor and you say, hey, listen, you want to give, she's obviously going to give gifts, right? She's saying, take the whole carton from me, I'll give it to you at a discounted price. You give it as a gift. So you see how the chain keeps moving, right? Use that as one. The second one is leave behind. And when you leave behind, you can take small books. Usually, when you go to the airport, leave some books behind the airport counter. Even when you go to a doctor's office, slide a book in there. They have magazines which have been lying there for years, which are rotting and people have used. Just leave a book out there. It's a fantastic way to do that. People go through those books. You don't have to leave your contact number or anything. If you want to, you can put ISKCON Bergen County and put a phone number over there too. You can do that. Or there's a list. Almost every book has a list of all the ISKCON centers over there, but you can do that, okay? Events we've already spoken about. Distribute. Okay, the other thing that you can do is you can ask Indian grocery stores to keep it and distribute if you have a relationship with them. This one I want to talk about is donate. Okay, I'll come to that in a minute. And then present is basically, when you go door to door. This is also very important. What used to happen was, in the month of December, don't wait for the Sankirtan team to make an event for you and invite you and all that. 2 people are good enough to go book distribution. When my dear friend Rasmanjari Mataji used to live here in Hackensack, I would just call her up and I said, time hai, chalo, the 2 of us would just go. And in the month of December, there should be no reason that we don't have books in our trunks. In the entire month of December, please keep a box of books in your trunk. What does it take you? Throw in some assorted books, throw in a couple of Bhagavad Gitas, a couple of Krishna books. You should always have a box of books in your car. I used to call it Rasmanjari Mataji. She used to say, chalo, 3 baje nikalte hain. We would go Friday evenings at 3 o'clock because I used to leave work early. We would go walk down all of Hackensack, the colony where she used to live. Just do it for 2 hours and we would be done. So please don't, wait for, I'm waiting for the Sankirtan team to make an event and it's too cold. And no, pick up your bag and just go. 2 people is all you need. Now, the reason we say 1 person is not good is because people get a little suspicious when they see 1 person. Right? And it's great to take kids. People love to see kids. And the thing is, people in New Jersey are used to seeing the Jehovah's Witnesses. So they are, they form the path for us. They know that we go nicely dressed. You don't have to wear ethnic clothes. You can wear jeans. Just don't wear shabby torn clothes. Wear nice clothes. And go with a smile on your face and go with the book. 2 people. Take a child with you. Don't take a child with you. It's fine. But generally don't go as 1 person because then it kind of spoils the whole thing. So 2 people, keep a box of books and just go. Alright, so that is present from store to door. The last one I want to talk about is donate. This is called Shastradan. So Shastradan is, if in all this inspiring lecture that I've given you, you're still shy about distributing books, what you can do is, you can donate a whole box of books to us and we will distribute it for you. Like you can sponsor a box of Bhagavad Gita, 1 box of hard copy. The boxes are $108 for the whole box. The soft books are 24 and the hardbound is 16. So you say, okay, Shastradan, I'm signing up for a box. And then when we go to hospitals and when we go to libraries, the Sankirtan team will donate it for you. And maybe not donate it in December, but we'll donate it in January and February and stuff like that. Because what we also do is we start approaching motels and we ask the motel owners to keep it in their rooms. Okay, so Shastradan is something that you can also do. Donate a box of books to us and we will place it for you. Okay, but because we are IBC and because we are all champions, we've all come here on a snowy day, all of us are going to distribute books, right? Now, the last thing I wanted to do was I wanted everyone to actually make a pledge, and we're a small team today, but we're going to do this every Sunday at least. Everyone just to make a pledge. I didn't even bring the stickies. I wanted everyone to write on a piece of paper, make a small pledge that I'm going to distribute 30 books in 30 days. Fold it and just put it over there in that hundi. And believe you me, Rather, Shyam Sundar and Gaurani Tai will give you the encouragement and they will propel you forward to distribute these books. That is the beauty of book distribution. I don't have those small pieces of paper, but I'm sure we have a pad over there. Please write what you would like to do for the month of December. 30 books in 30 days. It is not too much at all. Think about it. You have 6 teachers that you've taken care of. You have 6 colleagues. 12 books done in one shot. You have one doctor, you have your postman, you have your neighbor, 15 books taken care of. And then you have to think of the rest. 15 books you go door to door. Or even for your colleagues, sometimes what happens is for your bosses, you can give a Bhagavad Gita and you can give 2 small books. That's 3 books taken care of. And when my kids went to high school and to middle school, the guidance counselors used to really enjoy the books. So then I would give them a stack of 3 books. 5 people, 3 books, 15 books, right? So please make a pledge, 30 books, in 30 days, and this is what is going to take ISKCON Bergen County to the next level. Basically, that is what it is. Okay? Oh, one last thing. Case study, Tirupati. The Tirupati temple was basically built on 60% book distribution money. Very, very nice story over here. So let's look at this. For 10 years, an average of 40 devotees constantly distributed Srila Prabhupada's books. They did not give up. Beautiful temple in Tirupati. 60% of the funding came only from book distribution, which is something for us to remember, right? Because we've all seen some other stuff. So, books are now, the last thing is, what's in it for me? Basically, if you do this, what Krishna says is that for one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end, he will come back to me. Where are we all going? Back to Godhead? Yes? What's the best way to do it? Distribute a book, my friends. That's your straight path back to Godhead. Okay? I hope you will all take up this challenge or this fun activity. I think it's more of a fun activity. Do 30 books in 30 days. Today is the 1st of December. We have 30 days till the 31st. Alright? I thank you so much for listening to me. And I hope you will join us. And Gopal Govind Prabhu ki jai. Because he is the Sankirtan leader and Vinay Prabhu is not here today. Seriously, they do so much. They just come, they lift all these heavy books, set up tents and everything. So if you have any questions, of course you can always reach out to me, and Gopal Govind Prabhu is also always there to answer questions. Okay? Yes, Prabhu.
How about giving to libraries? Placing in the library a set of books that people who come to read things, they can look at it and try to make use of it.
Wonderful. So what we did was a few years ago, I wrote to there are about 72 libraries in Bergen County, which is another beautiful thing. 72. None of the other counties have that. So I wrote to all of them. I was offering a free book because people had given Shastra Dan to us, right? A lot of them took the books, but when I went to the Bhagavad Gita, I showed them the other books and a lot of them bought it. But that's a great idea. Oh, that's the other thing. I have lists. I have lists of doctors and libraries and all those fantastic things. If you want to reach out to those people, I'll be happy to share those lists with you. And you can tackle them and go after them. That'll be wonderful. I'll share my list with you. Anybody wants to do doctors, and the doctors, I only took Desi doctors because, they would understand the value of the Bhagavad Gita. But, you reach out to them and say, hey, listen, why don't you keep it in your office or give it to some of your patients? There are many lists floating around. The yoga studios, you can actually call them up and say, hey, listen, the yoga studio is all about Patanjali's yoga. It's in chapter 6. You say, this is what you're teaching. I'm giving you the book that has this yoga in it. Many ways to do it. So I hope I have you all charged up. And we can all do 30 books in 30 days. And it'll be a fantastic... This is going to be our first score. Devamrit Maharaj is waiting to see what our book score is going to be for this year. And please, I encourage you all to be a part of it. Jagdishwar Prabhu and Alka Nandini Mataji, freezing cold, they'll be coming out doing door to door. And I'm sorry if I'm not taking everyone else's names because I know everyone has done book distribution at one time or another. But I'm giving you their example so that you get more inspired. You just call them and they say, okay, we are going door to door, they'll come. Rasmanjari Mataji used to just pack up her bags and come. She would say, "Arey, mujhe bolna nahi aata hai English," but she would come. It's just that spirit, because her Guru Maharaj had told her how important it was. Okay, I think I've overshot my time. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, everybody.